anytime you have a child or a teenager who is maybe addicted to the screen, you have to look at yourself and you say, who's enabling this? Who's the enabler?
Yeah.
Who's funding this? And you've got to look at yourself and figure out like what is going on here with me.
Parenting is the hardest job you'll ever have. Now that I'm in the thick of it, it's like, shit, you guys were right.
So if you can teach a 7-year-old, a 12-year-old about trust, can you imagine where they're going to be when they're 16? They're going to know more about trust than most adults do.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Inspire Sessions. I'm your host, Ben Fisher, and I'm so glad you're here. If you haven't already, make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or all the other channels that you could possibly be finding this on. Make sure you follow. That helps us to reach more people with an inspiring message of hope. And today we have an amazing guest. His name's Sean Donohue, and he's a family coach, and we're going to talk a little bit about screen addiction. I know that's something that I desperately need help on. So excited to have that conversation. Once you subscribe to whatever channel you listen to this podcast on, make sure you hop over to benfisherinspires.com and check out our blog section. It's called Mindfulness. And we do a recap of every single conversation that I have here on the podcast. And it takes a deeper dive into things we talk about. So please check that out, benfisherinspires.com. And now, just a quick word from our sponsors. Taking the first step to overcome addiction is always the hardest, but Better Addiction Care makes it so much easier. With the free 24/7 helpline, they connect you with the top-rated treatment centers all across the nation. So no matter where you are, help is available, and you're not alone. Real help is just a call or a click away. Visit betteraddictioncare.com. No judgment whatsoever. You're not alone. There's people out there who want to help you, people who have been through what you're going through. Right now, your ideal client is searching the internet, but will they find you? SEO is shifting faster than ever, with AI reshaping how people search. And if you're not adapting, well, you're invisible. But Brand North stays ahead of these changes, using ethical, data-driven strategies to keep businesses in front of the right people. But they only take on a limited number of clients per year, and spots fill up fast. So don't wait. Visit brandnorth.com today. All right, let's get into it. Sean.
Hey, how's it going, Ben?
Going good, man. Good to see you face to face.
Yeah, you too. Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for being here. You don't have your ball cap on, man. I thought we were going to be ball cap bros.
I do like rocking my cap quite a bit. I do. Yeah, tell me a little about yourself. I saw some of your stuff that you guys are, especially on Facebook, so great. Tell me a little about your kids, family.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, man, like the big reason I wanted to have you on, selfish reasons, is, as you mentioned, I have 2 kids, a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, and man, they're a handful. And parenting is tough. Growing up, it's like my parents would always say, someday you're going to understand. And, parenting is the hardest job you'll ever have. And you always just like shrugged it off like, okay, mom, okay, dad. But it's like, now that you're in the thick of it, now that I'm in the thick of it, it's like, shit, you guys were right.
So hard. Yeah, man. That's cool. 10 and 7. All right. You married?
I am. Yeah. We've been married for 13 years. I hope I just got that number right. You put me on the spot there and I had to put it out there.
It's not being recorded, man. It's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's being recorded and blasted out to thousands of people. So if I get it wrong, I'll hear about it. But yeah, we've been married. Before that, we actually knew each other in high school. Me and my wife, Olivia is her name. Nice. She's a wonderful woman. We actually knew each other before high school, middle school, actually. And we were just friends. And then back in 2006, we ran into each other. She had moved off to college, and I went to college down in Florida. She was in Oklahoma. And then we met up back in our hometown, and just the sparks flew. And ever since then, we've been together. So we were actually together, I think it was 7 or 8 years before we got married. So we're going on however many years that is, 20 years almost.
That's great, man. That's cool. Where are you based out of?
So right now I'm in South Carolina, but my wife is from Toronto, Canada originally, and I'm
Okay.
from Cincinnati. Her
Okay.
family moved to Cincinnati. Her dad's a big P&G'er. Actually, he one of the three people who invented the Swiffer sweeper, believe
Oh,
it or
wow.
not. So
Wow.
that's an
A
interesting
little
fact.
fun fact. Yeah.
I'll give all my followers out there that didn't know that. Yeah, good old Nick Polachicchio. He's a cool guy. But yeah, man, I'm really excited to have this conversation. I really want to direct it at something, as I mentioned.
Okay.
It's a selfish reason I want to have you
Yeah.
on here, something that I struggle with and something
I
that
think
I'm
that's
concerned
yeah. Yeah,
something
please
I'm
do.
concerned about with my kids growing up in
Okay.
this day and age is
Yeah.
screen
Uh-huh.
addiction,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
It's uh it's a problem. It's a
Yeah.
big problem. And before we get into it though, I do want to just learn a little bit more about you
Great.
and what makes you do such a great job on your content, and every time I see it I'm like I feel inspired to be the best dad on the planet.
Oh, thanks,
When
man.
I went onto your site and I read a little bit and I see that you mentioned like you weren't always this way. You weren't always the perfect dad. So I'd love to hear a little bit about you and how your story unfolded. Like you have kids, you're a dad now, but how did you become the Sean that people can look up to and say, I can
Thank
take your
you.
advice and be a
Yeah.
better parent?
That's cool. Thank you. It sounds like we're already recording. So we've been recording this whole time?
Yeah, man.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. All right. Well, what's up?
We
All
just
right,
went
man.
for it.
So yeah, where I'm at now is I'm a pretty typical 46-year-old American man. I love watching football on the weekends. I love barbecuing. We had two families over last night, and we were doing a little home run derby in a part of the backyard, and a little with the basketball hoop, playing a little knockout with some of the kids. I went to a MMA fight 2 weeks ago. I love sushi and salsa,
Love it.
and I like hot dogs from Costco. So very typical. But what might be a little bit of my background of how I got here is my oldest is a turning 20 next week. And when she was about 3 years old, 17 years ago, I was just a freaking struggling dude, struggling man, struggling with my marriage, trying to figure out how to be married, just trying to, it was so stressful
Yeah.
and figure out alone time and like when I want to go play basketball with my friends or play video games. And she wanted this and I wanted that. And then we throw a baby into the mix and it was just so hard.
Dude.
And then we're like, I want to parent her this way. You're too soft. You're too mean. I was like, what is going on? Then I just kind of slowed down and I just started thinking and praying and thinking more deeply, like, okay, this is it. This is it. Like, I had a challenging childhood. I didn't really connect very well with my parents. My dad really wasn't in my life. And I wanted to be different than my parent. And I was like, look, if I'm just going to be a healthy parent, I just can't will it. I just can't want it. I'm going to have to work on myself. I have to grow the freak up. I have
Yeah.
to do some work on my luggage and my patterns and my relationship with anger and video games and avoidance and and then I read a book. My wife was like, "Yeah, you should read a parenting book." So I read a parenting book, and I was like, "Wow, that's really interesting. That was really helpful. I'm gonna like do that. I'm gonna do what this like woman says I'm gonna do." That was really good. But more than that, it was pretty deep, Ben. It was almost like a calling. Like I just soaked up the information. I was like thirsty for it, and I was like, I already had a career working with kids and teenagers, like in different nonprofits, counseling, camp counselings, churchy type stuff. I've always been around kids and families since I was 20. But it was like, wow, this is my next season of life. I'm going to learn how to be a parent.
Yeah.
And so then from there, a lot of stuff happened from there. But before I just tell you what happened next, that's a little time, into my prequel from
Yeah.
where the story started.
That beautiful job, and I'm sorry to throw you into the recording. I sent you a note. You must have missed it beforehand. That like, hey, be prepared. Like we're going to be recording right away. I just love to
Okay.
capture that first
Oh yeah,
connection. So
man. It's all
glad
good. It's
glad
all
we got
good.
it.
Yeah.
Sorry to
Yeah.
sorry to spring that on you, but
It's good.
I love the fact that you're coming from a place of, you're not just some sort of guru who knows it all and who has been perfect for your entire life. You're coming from a place of realism, of
Yeah.
experience. I've
Mhm.
experienced the other side of this where I wasn't such a great dad or such a great
Definitely.
person in this certain instance or this sense.
Mhm.
And I think people really relate to that, because nobody's perfect, first of all,
Right.
you know, and
Yeah.
so, the question really is like, why should anybody listen to Sean? Why listen to you? What makes you special in that sense? And I
Mhm.
would wager to say that maybe you're not special in that sense. It's just the fact that you've lived it and you've gotten to the other side of it. And I'm
Yeah.
wagering to bet you're not perfect yet.
No way,
It's
man.
progress over perfection, right? But you've kind of you've made progress, so now you can
Yeah.
teach other people how to make that same progress,
I
right?
do. Like, here's a couple things that I'm thinking right now, Ben. The first one is like, if you know anybody who really loves their job, like loves it, there's probably like a backstory to that. Or if you have like a social media influencer or an author that you like, there's probably something that happened in their childhood that led them to get into that field,
Yeah.
right? There's like a backstory, there's pain, there's drama. And now for me, it's not really that complicated. Like, yeah, didn't have I had a fine childhood. Parents got divorced, this issue, that issue. It was, a little this, little that. But like for me, I remember just wanting to have a great family as a high school guy. And I was planning a different career in comedy and entertainment at that time and up in college. And I was like, I didn't have plans for any of this. I just knew like this is what I really want in life. This is what success looks like for me. I just want to have a family. I don't want to be healthy. I don't want to get divorced. I want my kids to like me. I want to mentor them. I wasn't planning on like any of this. And then I think for me, the way I kind of processed what's happened from that day that I picked up my first cell phone and I went up to my front yard, and it took me 2 years to get the courage. And I picked up my phone and I made my first parenting video, and it sucked and it was embarrassing. And I was like so embarrassed. I was like, I hate this. But for me, there was like a calling. I was
Yeah.
being called into be a dad, being a regular man, making content. And I don't love it. I don't love being on camera. I'm not addicted to it. I don't love social media, but I do this because I feel like this is like what I'm supposed to do. And I feel like I have a gift. So am I normal? Am I a typical person? Absolutely. But we all have gifts. We all have superpowers. We have strengths. And for me, for some reason, I think it's from God personally. Like I'm just called to help people with parenting and make positive, encouraging stuff through podcasting and social media, and then work with my clients, people in pain. People are like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm sick of this cycle. How do I get my kid to this? How do I change this pattern? And so like I tell people all the time, like, I don't know much about much. I can learn so much from you. But yes, I have accumulated a lot of wisdom over the last 17 years, like in enormous amounts of wisdom that I've learned from books, from wiser people. And I love sharing it with people because I think it's really important. I think good parenting changes the world. And I think that's the dream for the majority of like adults. You might dream of Ferraris or mansions or lake houses. Those are all dope things. But for most of us, it's like, yeah, like I don't need those things, but I really want my family to be happy and healthy. And I want to do this right.
Amen, man. I love the concept of the calling, and I can tell you a little bit about my calling and
Yeah.
why I do what I do because I feel like we have a similar story in that sense. Other than mine involves a blackout drunk and
Mm.
a rock bottom moment, but
Hmm.
I got sober back in 2016, and for 3 years I just went to AA meetings. I just was anonymous, right? I
Okay.
didn't talk about it. I just went to the meetings, did my thing, tried to stay sober every day. But through that, all of a sudden, I started to have this idea. Like, I can tell you, one of my parents' friends that was into woodworking knew that I loved guitars and I was into playing guitar. And he started to teach me how to build guitars in my
Mhm.
recovery. And while
Okay.
I was doing that during those 3 years of being anonymous and quiet and just working on myself, I started to get this like itching idea that I need to make a documentary series about recovery
Yeah.
and tie that into my guitar building. Because while I'm doing
Cool.
this guy's like telling me like his life stories and like these lessons that he's learned. And I'm like having this vision of doing this documentary series. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
I don't have any gear. I've never
Uh-huh.
done anything like this before.
Yeah.
I don't even have a Facebook page at this
Yes.
point or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
But the idea kept hitting me, and it was like, if you can help one person, you have to do it.
Mhm.
And I kept pushing it back.
Mhm.
Like, I don't have the equipment. I don't have the time. Like, I don't have the ability. Nobody's going to watch it. If you can help one person, you got to do
Yeah.
it. That kept hitting me, and it was a calling. And finally, I did it, and I didn't buy any equipment. I ended up shooting this
Mhm.
documentary series, the first 4 episodes on my cell phone, and that turned into A String of Hope. And that's where the name A
Yeah.
String of Hope, I don't know if you went to my
Uh-huh.
page or not. That's
I
where that
did,
comes
of
from.
course.
It doesn't make sense now because you don't see any of the guitar building, but it was a documentary series on the guitar building. So I was called to
Mhm.
do this. And that's what led me to here. And now it's just this like overarching inspiration. It's not
Yeah.
just about sobriety, although there's a lot of
Mhm.
that in the page still. And some of the sponsors that I work with are addiction related. So it's
Okay.
still a big part of my story. I want to help people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, man.
And that's a big reason I wanted to have you on here. And it's called the
Thanks.
Inspire Sessions. I want to inspire people, but
Cool.
more than that, I want to help people with where they're at. And this is such a real thing, man. And we're going to talk about screen addiction today
Let's
because
do it.
it's such a
Yeah.
problem. So, with that being said, like, let's jump into it. And I
Oh,
don't
I
know if
love talking about this. Man, I've been deep in this space for a long time, so I nerd out on it. So I just
yeah.
gotta calm myself down a little bit because this is such an important topic. So, all right, man, let's talk about it. Get it started.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's something you want to preface
No,
about
man,
it, like
whatever
if
you
you
like.
want to lead it
Happy to
off,
be
like I
here.
can jump
Yeah,
right into some questions that I
yeah.
have.
I think it's an
Um,
important thing because if you ask, if you do a survey of modern parents, issues around screen overuse, screen addiction is definitely going to land on pretty much 100% of parents. Like top five, these are daily struggles in my house. Whether you have a 6-year-old or a 16-year-old, the tides are really shifting in a really positive way. There's lots of good movement going on, more than we saw like 15 years ago for sure. So in this podcast, if that's what you want to focus on, it's just another element of that. Like good things are happening. We're getting more educated. We're doing better. But yeah, talk to me. How can I help?
yeah. It's interesting you say that. I work for a company. I actually got their hat on today. I don't typically wear this hat, but Brain North, we're a digital marketing company and we do SEO for behavioral health clients. So
Cool.
mental health treatment centers, addiction treatment centers. But I'm noticing a trend that on our mental health facilities, on their SEO on the back end, the pages that are ranking higher are the ones that are affiliated with screen addiction. So
Hmm.
it's interesting that you mentioned like it's touching everybody and everybody is being impacted with it.
No one's really, yeah, people are talking about it now more than ever, but it's not there. Like there's still so much growth, so much more education that needs to be done. And just have hope, everybody. The
Yeah.
tides are changing. Good things are happening. We're finally getting these screens under control with kids. And I can tell you the specific what that means if you'd like.
Yeah, for sure. I think let's start first. If you could just define what is screen addiction. I know it's pretty obvious, right?
Hmm.
If somebody's addicted, but I think it's important to define exactly what screen addiction is.
Sure.
Like, are you
Yeah.
addicted or are you not? And how do you know if your child is
Hmm.
actually having this issue of screen addiction?
So yeah, so good news also too. I wasn't like planning on saying this, but I actually wrote a book, a free book called How to Break Screen Addiction and Stop Before It Starts. It's free. I used to charge people for the book, and I'm like, this is just too good and too important to like charge people for. So you can find it on my website. It's free. And we're actually about to release the latest version of it because I've done 2 versions already, starting like 4 or 5 years ago. And
What
so
is
we
the
actually
type?
define that and you can find it on my website, parentingmodernteens.com, or you can just
Or
find me as family coach. Just click that
awesome.
link in my bio and it'll take you there. And so, yeah, there is an actual like thing called internet addiction disorder. There's also a video game addiction disorder in the big book of like mental illnesses. And yet they have it takes years to get an actual diagnosis to end up in the book in the big like DM is what it's called. And so without boring you, here's the best way of understanding it is that you are the one, you parent are the one. This is really has screens have more to do with you than it does with anyone.
Mm,
So every parent actually determines in their own mind what is healthy and what is not healthy. And partly why we have to do that, and this actually kind of pisses me off, is because if you go to the government websites, the CDC, and you read what the government recommends for screen usage, it's a freaking joke. It is so dumb. It's like a middle school kid wrote it. It's so general. It's not even helpful. And then if you're looking for information for like how to do it with on the teen years, it's like nothing is on there. It says, yeah, balance screens, talk to your kids about screens. And if you go to google.com, snapchat.com, apple.com, guess what they find? All you're going to find is freaking bugs that sound like crickets, no information. So the smartest guys in the room, the geniuses who invented all these apps, they give you no information on brain chemistry, on neurodevelopment, or even neurodiversity or neuro on any of it. And they know it, but they're not giving it to us. And so I have good news and bad news for you. The bad news is you're kind of on your own. You're on
Yeah.
your own. You go to some stupid government website. The good
Yeah.
news is that you can do this. You're a parent and have always been responsible for setting the boundaries, setting the values, setting the morality of the home. And you can do this. And so I hope you like my answer. Like if you feel like your 4-year-old is spending too much time on screens, if you're not comfortable with how your 14-year-old is on screens, well, then you've already made the decision. It's not a win-win. The
Yeah.
best way of thinking about screens is does this feel like a win-win? Does this feel comfortable with me? And here's a very simple way of thinking about it is every screen is like having a rifle, a gun in the house. It's extremely dangerous.
Mm.
You should not give a 5-year-old a firearm or a sharp knife. They're not ready for that. If you do ever give like a child a firearm or something dangerous, it needs to be like highly supervised,
Yeah.
minimal, and everything is you keep your eyes everything on that child because it's so dangerous. They have to be you have to keep your eyes on them. And so this is just the best way of understanding screens. It's like these are the world's most powerful devices. They're extremely, and the best way to thinking about it is through the word trust. Can I trust this child, whether they're 4 or 14,
Mm.
to manage the screen time that they're allowed? Can I trust them to make wise decisions on these screens that they may have earned? And the answer is either a yes or it's a no. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to bore you. I don't want to talk too much because, as I told you, I try to warn you, get fired up. But just thinking about that, like if you want to give your kid a Nintendo Switch for their 10-year-old birthday, just think to them, have they earned that? Can I trust them that when I say come to dinner on time, you're going to come to dinner? If you have a rule that says no Nintendo Switch on the weekdays, well, can I trust them to not sneak it? Because
Yeah.
if you can't trust your child, then the answer is no. It means you need to not remove the device for a day or a week or two. It needs to be gone. You need to revisit that in 6 to 12 months because they're already communicating to you. I can't do this. It's too much of a temptation. Doesn't that kind of make common sense of what I'm saying here? Do you agree? Is this helpful at all?
I do. I agree 100%. The problem is I am in middle of this struggle and we're doing exactly what you're saying not to do. We'll take it away for a
Yeah.
day or a week at a
Yeah. Yeah.
time. And
Yeah.
we've noticed very much that it's not working.
It's not
When we
working.
give it
Yeah.
back, it goes right back to
Uh,
where it was. So,
yeah.
I
Thanks for your honesty, man. Like this is my favorite type of interviews and podcasts to do when people actually want to talk about their kids or their
oh
family.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
am digging this. Please continue because this is like everyone, by the way. You don't, please tell me more. Let me see if
Yeah,
I'd love to help.
I said at the beginning of this, I selfishly wanted to do this interview so I could get a little parenting session out of you. So,
Thanks, dude. Let's do it,
I hope
man.
you
Let's
don't
do
feel
it.
used, man, but
No, man. I'm honored
we're
to be here.
yeah, I appreciate it. I'll tell you a little bit about what's going on. Like I mentioned, we just moved from Cincinnati to South Carolina, and we moved here on a whim. Like, we don't know anybody here. We just
How
wanted warmer
fun.
weather.
How
We wanted warmer
fun.
weather. We wanted to be close to a lake, which we have a lake real close to us.
Sweet.
And we just went for it, and we wanted to go for it before our kids got too older, before they really were attached to their friends.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
my daughter is 10, so
Hmm.
she's a little bit older. And
Hmm.
we thought she was going to be like this social butterfly because that's who she is. And she still is. Like, she's very outgoing. She's not afraid of anything. But
Hmm.
since we've been here, she's been struggling, man. She's struggling with some bullies at school,
Yep.
which is a whole
Yep.
nother episode that we can have and talk about, like, because
Yeah.
that's crushing me what she's going through.
So
but
hard.
we live kind of in the country out here too, so there's not a lot of
Mm,
other kids around, so there's not a lot to do. And
mhm.
daddy works
Yeah.
all the
Yeah, you
time,
have to
and
make money. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
work a lot of times from my phone, right? So it looks
Sure.
like daddy's just on his phone, just
Mhm.
goofing off a lot, and they see that. So I'm struggling with this guilt of like, you know, me and my wife both work from home. So if they are home from school for one day or they're off for a week for whatever reason, like it's hard to figure out what to have them do while
Yeah.
we need to do our thing. So
Right.
I'm struggling with the whole like take it away for 6 months and revisit it. What do you do? What
Mhm.
are some tips
Yeah.
like if you know you
Yeah.
need to take that away?
Okay, so let me respond to that question second. So, and let me go back to your last question because some of the signs of screen addiction, which I'm not, is like you see your child kind of becomes really obsessed with the screen experience. Number two, they feel more like so excited about getting on screens. They find more joy in like a screen versus like a real life human experience. Another sign could be they just really know they're just constantly begging or whining or negotiating,
Yeah.
to get more and more screen time. Another sign that you've got, like you remember, I'm trying to train you on everyone here to how to think about screens. So on the surface, you might see a kid who's coming late to the dinner table. You might on the surface you see a girl who's saying, clean your room, but she won't because, she's on screens. On the surface, you see a kid who's just spending all day Saturday, like, on a screen, but it's raining outside. But you got to look under the surface and be like, can I trust this child to balance their life? Can I trust them to push themselves out there socially, to instigate, hangout sessions for teenagers or play dates with kids? Can I trust them that it was time to go to ballet or lacrosse practice? Like they're really ready to go. Can I trust them that when I say to get ready on time, to go somewhere, they're there. So like on the surface, you might see screen addiction, or we might say the term like screen overuse, but really it's all about like, can I trust them to do what they're supposed to be doing? And then what you'll find is that the high majority of kids 16 and under are untrustworthy.
Yeah.
They cannot manage these devices and they cannot do what you're telling them to do.
Right.
And so because it's just not neurologically, it's just too much. There's too much dopamine, there's too much temptation. So before I give you some thoughts on your 10 and 7-year-old, which I love to, can I get your opinion on what I said? What do you think about what I said there?
The whole time I was thinking I have ADHD too. I'll tell you that. So the whole time I was just thinking about how much guilt I'm feeling around it because I mentioned that daddy's like this. I'm doing this as well and it's work. But the truth is, man, even when it's not work, I feel like I'm struggling with screen addiction as well.
Dude,
So
yeah.
it's right now, it's not just I feel like it's my fault that my kids are struggling with this, right? So there's all that guilt. And that's basically all I was thinking of when you were just
Yeah.
talking there, to
Man, we're
be
just
100%
love
honest.
I love how real you're keeping this. This is like so good. Okay. So now it's like if I could, Ben, let's just keep going back in time a little bit.
Yeah.
So, what we are really struggling with as parents is we often talk about how this is the first generation of kids to grow up with screens in their pockets, in their bedrooms, in their backpacks. Well, we are actually the first generation
Yeah.
also. We're the
Yeah.
first generation of parents who have kids who have these screens or want these screens. We're the first generation of a kid who, when your kid goes to school and they're in fifth grade, some of the kids have phones and some of them don't. And it's confusing. We're
Yeah.
the first generation of parents who've had to struggle with this. And it's confusing for all of us. So we're
Yeah.
learning as we go. So I encourage you to don't beat yourself up. Just have grace for yourself and realizing like, hey, we're learning as we go. Is that true? Does that help you feel better a little bit? Like we're learning as we
Yes.
go.
It does. Learning as we
Good.
go. And it's like
Yeah.
it's not too late to make adjustments, make
No,
changes.
it's
And
not too
I have to
late.
like I can't go down that rabbit hole of like, have I screwed my kids up with letting them have their devices too
Don't
much?
do it. Don't do this
Good.
is like
Thank
because
you.
that shame, that guilt, whether it be about this topic or that topic, it just doesn't not only produce good things in us. What does produce good things is just having these open conversations like we're having now and being like reevaluating. Hey, do I need to make an adjustment
Yeah.
as a parent? Do I need to pivot?
Yeah.
And
It's apparent to me that we need to make a pivot. And I really think that more than just taking the devices away from my kids, I need to be a better role model in that sense
yeah,
of, when it is time for me to put my work down, I need to put
mhm.
the phone down too. And we need to change our habits and do something different. Like I mentioned, we have this beautiful lake on our
Yeah, man.
property. I'm so excited for the summer to come to where we can get out on it
Yeah,
and spend more time. And I'm working on doing, like, this is another aspect of this. I'm working on building all these things in my life, and the
mhm.
thought is like someday I'm going to build something so good that it's going to kind of run itself and I'm going to be able to step away and have more time. But it
Yeah,
always
yeah,
ends up just taking more of my time, so I need to
yeah,
find that line too. But yeah,
yeah.
it's just, that's where I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Here's a couple more things. Like before we can talk to our kids about screens, it's good to talk to ourselves about screens. So
Yeah.
here's something that I found to be helpful. We we often give children screens because there's actually a little bit of fear that is inside of us. So open your mind for a second and just everyone think back to why you've given your children these screens. One of the common reasons that people don't talk about is a fear. So we're afraid that if I don't give my child a screen, that they're going to be missing out on something, maybe socially.
Yeah.
They're going to be left out of a social circle. I'm afraid because I'm a single parent and my spouse is not in the house. I'm all by myself. So I'm afraid that if I don't give my child screens, well, they're going to be lonely and bored and disconnected. Let's say this. I'm a divorced, I co-parent and have a challenging, hostile, co-parent. So I'm afraid that if I can't stay in touch with my kid, they're going to maybe like drift away from me. We're going to become distant. I'm afraid that if I don't give my kid a screen, well, they might get kidnapped and I won't know where they are. I'm afraid that we just moved to a new neighborhood and they have no friends. So I'm afraid that hurting my child by not giving them screens because they have no friends because they just moved here.
Yeah.
I'm afraid because it's 2020 and it's COVID. And I'm afraid that my kids are going to be bored and disconnected from people. So I need to keep them these screens so they stay connected to their schoolwork or they stay connected to their friends. You see, I could literally go on for hours on this. Are you vibing with me? Does this sound
Yeah, I mean,
familiar?
yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with mentioning us in a new town, and that's exactly because they have made a few friends, and those friends have phones, and my daughter wants to get on her phone to spend time with these friends, and it's like, okay, well, she doesn't have a lot of friends here. We don't want to keep her from the
Right.
ones that she actually does have.
Right.
So
Yeah.
very much so vibing with
Yeah.
that, and it's like,
Right.
what do you do at this point?
But then it causes problems. If you give a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 16-year-old these screens, then it has to come with all these other problems. So
Yes.
it's like I'm afraid that if I don't give my kids these screens, then I'm going to have problems. But then when you do give your kids these screens, then you now have just brought a bunch of problems into your house. So like this is a strong word, but you brought up the word addiction. So anytime you have a child who has an unhealthy relationship with the screen, anytime you have a child or a teenager who is maybe addicted to the screen, you have to look at yourself and you say, who's enabling this? Who's the enabler?
Yeah.
Who's funding this? And you've got to look at yourself and figure out like what is going on here with me. What am I so afraid of? Why do I keep pampering? Why do I keep giving this kid this screen even though I know it's not right? I know all the experts told me not to. I know it causes anxiety and depression. I know they're not doing anything good on there. It causes so many stressful points. Like what is happening? So see, it's just such a complex topic, man, isn't it?
It is. It really is, and it's a scary topic too. And I think about my story and how dark things got for me in the depths of substance use, and it just worries me that the things that we're doing and the fact that I've given these screens to them and they have become addicted in a sense to them. It worries me that has caused like damage in the future, and it's like it's me like going against everything I talk about on my page, like just following down that rabbit hole of
Dude.
depression and fear and anxiety. But your kids have a way of doing that to you. You know, there's this line, something along the lines of, as soon as you become a parent, you've basically, you're going to be a worrier for the rest of your life. You're going to be worried for the rest of your
Oh
life
my
when
gosh.
you're a
Well
parent.
said. There's a saying. I don't agree with that at all, and I hate it, but I do agree that's a saying.
Yeah.
Just like it's a saying that many parents say, you can only be as happy as your least happy kid. Talk about a dysfunctional phrase. Talk about something so rooted in codependency and weirdness and exactly the opposite of what a child needs,
Yeah.
right? The child doesn't need a codependent parent, or if the child or teenager is going through a hard time, doesn't need the parent to go through a hard time. No, it's not. But so let me do something I think would be really helpful. Instead of us talking about how dangerous screens are or stupid they are or how our kids are all using them, let me help. Let me just give a couple action steps or some
Please.
tools in your toolbox for you, for your 10 and your 7-year-old.
That's where
Does
I
that
was
sound good?
hoping we were headed, man.
Yeah, man. Because
Let's
yeah,
get the
that's what
tools.
people do, man. They just talk about problems, but they don't actually talk about how to
Yeah.
solve them. So just
Not
today,
here.
for example, like I have this VIP membership that's exclusive, like paid community, and it's small. It's on Zoom. It's live 3 times a week. You can come. People can
Okay.
come. And today, the opening teaching was about how to not parent in fear, and it was about how we're all good parents are afraid. And you articulated it so well of some of the fears that you have. That was very brave and amazing of you. I'm afraid because I was not close with my parents growing up. My dad really wasn't in my life much at all after their divorce at age 12. My mother was very aggressive with my sisters and I, and we just got checked out.
Yeah.
All three of us, we just freaking checked out at age 12. And I'm afraid that like my kids are going to check out or they're not, I'm going to be out of the loop because I brought that luggage, in. And that's just part of like being a good parent means you're
Yeah.
going to be afraid. If you're a bad parent, you're not afraid. You're checked out. You're not
Right.
really emotionally present or physically present. But
Yeah.
good parents are emotional because they're trying to be connected in
Yeah.
love, and you hear things you don't want to hear and you make decisions you don't like, and it brings up all your stuff and stuff and stuff. It's crazy, right? And
Exactly.
so the good news is we don't have to parent in fear, and we shouldn't parent in fear. And we have this great episode and podcasts like this and work like you're doing, Ben, to help people to not parent in fear. So here's a
Yep.
couple here's a couple ideas. You ready for some action steps?
Love it. Let's hear it.
All right, man. Action step number 1. When your kids are age 3 and up, start talking to them about trust and make trust an everyday word in your home. Yesterday, we had 2 couples over. One of our favorite couples is Charlie and Sarah Camarillo. They've got a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old named Ollie. And we're hanging out in the backyard, and I got a pool. And Ollie knows he's not allowed to go near the pool because that little dude can't swim. But he was straight up just going right up to the edge, a little buster, and because that's what 3-year-olds do.
Right.
So I've got permission from my buddies, my friends, to parent this kid when he's in my house. So I do a lot of parenting. And so I started talking to Ollie, and I said, Ollie, short for Oliver, you're not allowed to go near the pool. Why'd you go? I said, I'm just dancing. I'm just playing. I'm not going in the water. That's what he says, right? I was like, but Ollie, I have to trust you that you can't go near the pool. I need to be able to trust you. See, 2 sentences for a 3-year-old. Now, 3-year-old does not understand trust because he's 3.
Right.
But if I were to start talking about this every day with a 3-year-old, in 14 days, the kid will probably understand trust.
Yeah. He'll get it.
I need to be able to trust you that you're going to follow the rules, right? That's not the pool. So can I trust you? He says, yes. We don't know if he understands it or not because he's 3. And I said, look, if I can't trust you to be out here with us, you're going to have to go inside. Do you want to go inside? He said, no. I was like, I don't want you to go inside either. I like having you out here. We're hanging out. He's like, yeah. Like, yeah, we get to cuddle and we get to play because him and I were just cuddling. He's like, yeah. See, I need to be able to trust you that you're going to follow the rules. So I'll tie this into screens in a minute. But what do you think about this teaching, Ben?
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. And I can tell you that we've had that conversation with our kids but not like not on a daily basis. But it has been something that's been brought up numerous times. Like, we need to
Good.
be able to trust you, and you get more things. You get
Yeah.
more, you're able to do more things when we can trust you. And when we
Yeah.
can't trust you, you get things taken away,
Yeah.
like your phone or like this or that. And we want to be able to trust you because we want you to have freedom and be free.
Yes.
Obviously, they're 10 and 7, so like to an
Mhm.
extent. But yeah, we
Mhm.
definitely talk about trust, and that's
Good.
I agree with
Yeah.
that 100%. We could probably do a better job.
We want our kids to, do what they're supposed to do. Brush
Right.
their teeth, eat their veggies, get dressed, get to school on time. And one of the best ways to do that is to teach them the psychology of trust. Like, this is what it means, like, that you can trust me. You
Yeah.
can trust me that if you really don't want to do something, then I won't force you to do it. You can trust me that, if that I'm hearing you out, right? That you have some power over your life. You can trust me to be there for you.
Yeah.
You can trust me. And so if you can teach a 7-year-old, a 12-year-old about trust, can you imagine where they're going to be when they're 16? They're going to know more about trust than most adults do.
Right.
And so when you think about screens, you've got to build it on this foundation of trust. Like, can this child be trustworthy with the device, with the time? Have I done an excellent job teaching them about boundaries?
Mm.
Tip number 2, help them see that how they keep trust and how they break trust actually affects you, your feelings, your emotions, and the actual relationship. If some of you are thinking, what are you talking about? What I'm talking about is when your kids do well with trust, you say, hey, okay, you want some screen time today? Sure. Yep. Okay. You get your hour of screen time today. You could say to them, so can I trust you that when your hour is up, you're going to turn it right in? No arguments, no complaint. Can I trust you? Yes. Cool. Can you look me in the eye and say, Dad, you can trust me. I will get off the screen on time. Sure. Okay, do it. Okay, Dad, trust me, the screen, on the time, you. That's how 7-year-olds are going to start talking about trust in the beginning, right? They don't understand it.
Yeah.
So when they keep trust, you say, hey, that really meant a lot to me. It feels so good that I got a kid that I can trust around these screens. Hey, can I talk to you? Yeah, what's up? I just want to say thank you. Why, Dad? Well, because I asked you to empty the silverware and you did it the first time. Thank you. That means so much to me. I feel like $1,000,000. Okay, geez, Dad, it's just the silverware. No, man, it feels good. See where we're going with this? It's like we're highlighting the connection and we're reinforcing, just like it'd be positive and extremely normal and extremely healthy for you to say this. Hey, can I talk to you about something? Yeah. Hey, so you gave me your word that you were gonna come to the dinner table on time, and you didn't come. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Dad. My game ran long. It's Fortnite, and it goes longer, right? But that's what we talked about. I need to be able to trust you that when I say come to the dinner table on time, you come. Like, the food is here. Oh, Dad, it's not my fault. I have homework, and I have this. I don't know if you're hearing me.
Right.
I don't know if you're hearing me. It hurts my feelings when you give me your word and when we give you the device and then you don't keep your word. Okay, Dad, sorry. Jeez. It's not a big deal. It's like, I still came. I don't know if you're hearing me. All right.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Doesn't feel good when we need to have trust with this device. And your mother worked really hard on this dinner. We're all waiting here for you. It does not feel good. It hurts. See what we're doing? We're just naturally sharing our feelings in a healthy, normal way, helping them understand how their behavior has impacted our feelings. Super normal, super healthy. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, you're reinforcing the good behavior, but you're also reinforcing the bad behavior. You're not reinforcing the bad behavior, but you're explaining how
Mm-hmm.
it affects other people and how it affects you. And that
Yeah,
makes a
man.
lot of sense. So it teaches them that there's consequences for when
Mm,
they don't follow through and
mm-hmm.
they're not honest with things. And there's benefits and there's rewards and there's a lot of good feelings when you do follow through on that trust. And I
Yeah,
like
man.
that. I'm going to call that tip. So the first one was trust. What do we call that
Yeah.
tip? I'm going to
Yeah.
put these down in
First one
one
would be
word.
make trust an everyday word in your home. Is what I like to say. And the second one would be help your children see how their choices impact your emotions. Now, some of you that are listening to this, Ben, they're freaking out right now and they don't like what they're hearing.
Mhm.
And they don't like this because they grew up with a really like emotionally abusive parent or a
Mhm.
weird parent. A parent who
Yeah.
was like always barfing their feelings upon them or making them codependent or saying weird stuff like you make me happy, you make me sad. Some of you didn't like what you said because you heard some false rumor about you shouldn't share your feelings with your kids. Like they're too young to handle that. Some of you don't like what you hear because you're thinking, wait, you just made your kids responsible for your feelings. What are you talking about? So that's not any of that is actually what happened. And if you don't believe me, you can just go and look at tons of research on this. The latest was done out of this think tank out of the Washington State University, which says you're actually supposed to share your feelings with your kids. We already do. We already share our feelings with our kids. I'm happy. They already know when you're angry, when you're sad. So it's actually healthier to just share them versus letting it leak out where you're saying weird stuff, or you're yelling, you're people
Yeah.
pleasing, or you're faking it. Like you're not feeling something. Does you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So help
Yeah.
them see in a healthy way how, since you wanted to focus on screens, help them see how their great trusting choices with a screen is great and builds connection, and help them see how their poor choices around screen hurts connection
Yeah.
because that's normal. Because let's say your wife or your husband is like addicted to their screen and they're all the time on a screen. What do you think would be healthier? A, you're always on your phone. You are so addicted to your phone. You're never even here. What's your problem? All you do is care about your phone. Or B, hey, honey, can we, I'd love to talk to you, just have some alone time with you, have your attention. Can we talk? Can we hang out like screen free? I'd love being with you. Like, which one is more inviting, right? Which one's wooing? Hey, I love like, would it be okay if we put our phones down for the evening and just spend time together? Because I love being with you. It's kind of hard. Sometimes I'm feeling a little lonely sometimes because like we're in the same room, but you're on your phone a lot. And I love connecting with you. See which one's more inviting. And right. So this is like probably the most helpful thing I'll say during this whole time. And I've been kind of waiting for the right time to say it, Ben, because you asked me, hey, give me some advice on screens for my kids. Here's the best thing is advice. Unless you kind of phrase this in your own way, what sounds right to you. Having success with screens is really about reaching your kids' hearts and helping them understand how screens are connected to the human experience, connected to a trusting, healthy relationship, and how we need to keep screens in their appropriate place on the sidelines of our everyday family vibe, right?
Love
Something
that.
like that. Does that make sense? Like kind of in your own phrase that
It
in your own
does.
way? Yeah.
It does. Yeah. I'm going to listen back to this podcast a few times and kind of come up with my own way of saying that and try to reiterate it to the family. So that's really good. Yeah. I
Like
like that.
screens are fun. They're cool. Yeah, play some games.
Yeah.
Watch some YouTubers that are age appropriate. You know, but that they are not our lives. They're a
Right.
small portion of our lives. They're like little candy or little ice cream. They're not dominating our lives. And your relationship with your screen and the people through that screens is not more important. This is more important. This
Yeah.
family and having in-person friends and experiences.
Yeah. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on my end of things. But the beautiful thing is, like, I've made a lot of big changes in my life, and, I can change this too. And that's what I want to say to anybody out there who's struggling with anything, whether it's screen addiction with their kids or any issue with their kids. That's just one thing we're dealing with in our family with our kids. There's some other issues too, like I mentioned, the bullying. But I
Yeah.
just want everybody to hear, like, you're capable of making
Yeah.
amazing changes in your life, and it may be only one thing too that you need to change that could make the big change in your life that you want to see too. I
Yeah.
know it seems hard, and it seems hard because a lot of times you look at the big picture, you look at the whole staircase. I think there's a Martin Luther King quote about that, like, don't look at the whole staircase, just concentrate on the first
Mm,
step. So with that being said, for me, if I want to start to make that change in my life as soon as I leave this room,
Mhm.
what's that first step? How do I
Mm.
start to make that change immediately? Like, what are some real
And
world?
are we still focusing on, like, screen balance? Is that what we're still doing here?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think it really starts with the inner work, Ben. Like, because so many reasons why we give kids screens is because of ourselves. We are afraid of the conflict that's gonna happen with our kids, the outbursts, the arguments, the negotiations. We are afraid that if we don't give our kids screens, they're gonna be lonely. They're gonna separate from their friends. They're gonna be bored, and so that's really where you start, is like,
Yeah,
what is happening inside of me that I'm having a hard time stepping into this tension of setting good boundaries and limits on my kids?
yeah.
That's
So
where
I think I can sit with my wife and we can kind of analyze what is the fear. What
what
is
is
the
the
fear
fear?
that's causing us to just hand over the phones to our kids?
Yeah, do you
What's
it's a very personal question, you don't need to answer it. Would you like to answer
Yeah,
the
I was
question
just
now? Like,
thinking.
what are you and I can go too. I can tell you what I'm afraid of. What are you afraid of? Because you're the one telling us you feel like a little uncomfortable with your kid's relationship with screens right now. You
Yeah,
want to tighten it up. So what's what is the fear underneath the parenting, or what are you afraid of?
I think that's the difficult part, because my initial thought is like, is it a fear of me not being able to get my work done? That I feel like they need to have their device when they're around? I don't know. Like, that's what I need to figure out. What is the
Yeah.
fear? And
Do you
I
feel
don't know
like
if I have that answer yet.
yeah, that's okay. I don't know if this is helpful, but do you feel like you're like ignoring your children and neglecting them by saying, "Hey, okay, no screen time. We're gonna like you're not a good parent because they're like have nothing to do after school?"
Yeah, that could be a big part of it. Like we mentioned earlier, like they only have a few friends, so it's like I want them to
Yeah.
have fun. They
Yeah.
At our old house in Cincinnati, they could walk out the front door and they had friends in the
Yeah.
cul-de-sac, and we
So
would do
you
that often. Yeah,
all that would totally make sense. It also would make sense if you're afraid of seeing your kids get sad or your kids experience the feelings of loneliness. And
yeah,
you don't want them to be sad or experience loneliness. You don't want them to feel like, "Oh my gosh, my life was good and then I moved to South Carolina and my life sucks and my parents are to blame." That could be another reason. I'm blaming you for my sadness. You moved me away from my friends and then you took screens away from me. You're ruining my life. You could be afraid of the conflict or the blame. I mean, the
yeah,
list is huge. This is all parents, by the way, Ben. This is all of us, right? You feel like if you were to say, "Okay, honey, new rule from now on, we have no screen time during the week," because that's what I recommend. No screen time during the week, period. No, you'd be afraid, like, I'm taking my kids' friends away from them. I'm a bad parent. I'm hurting them. The counter side to this is that trillions and trillions and trillions of human beings have lived, and trillions of children have lived screen free for the majority of mankind.
yeah.
So what we're seeing now is a new form of the human experience, and it's not working out for children. And this is why we finally have people speaking up, writing books. We finally have leaders like Jonathan Haidt, who wrote The Anxious Generation. We finally have schools having the courage to be like, "Hey, we're moving to a screen-free school." My kids' school just announced that 2 days ago. And we're finally like stepping in to help children because they just don't need these screens. And it's not better than the human experience.
Yeah,
And here's some good news for everyone is everyone has heard this rumors about boredom, about the psychology of boredom. Some of you have maybe read some of the articles online about how boredom is so good for our kids. It induces creativity, social skills. It leads them to do art, music, play outside, sports. And so just have hope that you not giving your kid a screen is not child abuse. They will feel bored and they will feel lots of human emotions. They might feel left out, they might feel bored, they might feel lonely, but your child's human instincts are going to kick in and they're going to do things that kids have done for trillions of years or however long you think that however old you think humans been around for.
Yeah.
They're gonna get creative. They're gonna hang out with each other. They're gonna hang out with their parents when they're available. They're gonna make friends. They're gonna do gymnastics, lacrosse. They're gonna play in the woods. They're gonna ride bikes. They're gonna do artwork. They're gonna make music. And your job is to not put screens in front of them, but just give them avenues to live out their childhood dreams.
Love it.
Old school.
Yeah,
That's
that
good
one.
news.
Yeah, it is good news, and that really
That's so
clicks
good.
for me, the whole boredom thing, like, boredom is good. Boredom
Yeah, man.
being bored is a good thing for a child, and I think back to my boredom growing up. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't have, like, you mentioned that we had things, but we didn't have cell phones like this in our pocket growing up, you know? I had a guitar hanging on my wall, and I still
Yeah,
got
buddy.
4 of them hanging right here, and
Yeah.
I learned how to play that sucker, dude, and it's because I was bored, you know?
Because you were bored.
It's because I
Because
was
you're
bored.
I played basketball. I
Yeah.
went doorbell ditching with my friends. I had sleepovers. I went TPing. We went
Dude,
shopping. We walked in the mall. And then I started working at age 11. I became a paper boy and I just fell in love with work and making money.
yeah.
I did shady stuff like sold candy out of my backpack in the middle school. And I did fun stuff. And we lived it up, you
That
know?
brings up another fear though, and why they get the phone because I got brought home from the cops one night. I went out with my friend, snuck out one night, tipped 8 porta potties in one night,
Oh,
stole all the
so fun.
stole
Oh,
all the chromies off the car wheels
me
on our
too.
bikes.
How old were you when you were tipping porta potties and stealing chromies? That's
They're probably
funny.
12, 13 years old.
Yeah, yeah. Those are some mischief years. Please continue.
Yeah,
Yep.
dude, we were doing that, and then, like, another fear, it's like, dude, we would get on our bikes at 12 years old and be miles, miles
Yeah.
away. I mean,
Yep.
like, m spend half the day just going away from
Right.
where you live to get back before the street light comes on. It's like, that's kinda scary to think about, like,
Sure.
and maybe it's because I'm a helicopter parent and I'm too protective over my kids, but, like, there's no way I would let them get that far away at the ages that I did that or the things that I did. At least I say that now.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's gonna be like
Which
when
is
they get up.
why great realness. That's exactly why we had to talk today about parenting and fear because our generation is we are a generation of afraid parents because we grew up with social media. So we heard about the kid who got kidnapped 5 states away on the news over and over. We are the ones who grew up with all these extremely divided news stations and
Yeah,
clickbait theories. Look, the media is constantly telling us to be afraid when reality, here's the truth. 3 hours ago, I was in my membership and I was talking with a federal US judge who's a member. He was saying the truth is that this is the safest this country's ever been. The 80s and 90s were 3x more dangerous. This is an extremely safe country. And so that's the truth is that your kids can go to the park and they're probably not going to get kidnapped. They're going to have a great time. They can ride their bike to the 7-Eleven. Now, am I telling you to do this? I don't know your neighborhood or community. I don't know how far 7-Eleven is, but you get the point, right? It's like this is part of the problems that we are so afraid of letting our kids go out there and live their lives. And then we make up these excuses by buying all these devices because it makes us feel better because we don't have to feel afraid. And so when you say, where do we start with this? You have to start with yourself. What is happening inside of you as a parent? And this is hard work, man, the inner work. Whew.
I love that you let me be the guinea pig on this, you know? And for anybody listening, like, I'm gonna make some changes in my life. I already knew before coming into this conversation that I did need to make some changes, and it's things happen. We moved from Cincinnati to
Yeah.
South Carolina. My daughter's having a hard time, so we just did what we thought was best at the time. It's gotten us down a path that we
Yeah.
can see now wasn't the best path, but the beautiful thing is we can turn around now and we can change. We can change it up, mix it up.
Great message.
You know what I mean?
You know, man, my kids are 20 and I'm saying the same thing now, man. I've made some mistakes. And it's like, yeah, you make mistakes. Let's learn from it.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go. Can I tell you, in my hand right now, I have the future of technology. I know this is being recorded so people can see it. In my hand, I have the future of technology. All these super smart Tech people are telling you the future is AI. It's not. I got it right here. Check this out. Boom. Look at this thing. The future of childhood technology is the flip phone, everyone. That's what we're going back to.
Love
Or we're
it.
going to these other great devices. This thing's right here. That's your 10-year-old. You want to call them? Go ahead, call them. You want them to call their friends? There you go. Right here. Cheap, easy. They can play a little snake on here. Remember that old school game we maybe played? This is safe. You want to track your kid because you're hyper paranoid? Go grab yourself a $30 tag, put it on their backpack. There you go. This thing is such the future of the childhood experience. I don't know about what devices your kids are going to be on, but this is how we are rolling over here. We're rolling with the flip phones, and it is going very, very well. And then, they prove as they get older and they prove that they're worthy and they're trustworthy to have a device. And then a couple years after that, if they're making good choices, they will have earned the right to be on social media. And our 15-year-old does not have social media, and she's doing just fine.
Man, Sean, I really appreciate your time today, man. I know we're coming up. Well, actually, we're past an hour already. So thank you so much for spending some time with me. I feel like I got a lot out of this. I hope everybody that's been listening got a lot out of this. Please like, comment, share wherever you're watching this, subscribe. That way, more people will get this message,
More
this
people, yeah.
inspiring message from Sean. Sean, I'd love for you to kind of just close by telling again, where can people find you? And then also give me, like you mentioned, reading some books. Give me a couple good tips on some books that
Mm,
people can read if they want to
mm,
learn more about this and
yeah.
improve.
So yeah, thank you, Ben. Man, thanks so much. I just loved our time together. Your realness, your honesty, and that's just so great. I can see why people follow you and love you so much. That's just great leadership. So thank you so much. So yeah, you can find me on social media as the Family Coach, or you can find me in my podcast, The Sean Donohue Show. I do 3 episodes a week. Or you can find me on my website, parentingmodernteens.com. And if you are interested in reading, I highly would love to have you read it's about to become free any day now. We're about to release the latest version, How to Break Screen Addiction and Stop It Before It Starts. That would be something I would love to put in the hands of parents all around the world so they can be like, oh yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling empowered. I feel like I know what to do. And I'm feeling good about building a home of trust.
Love it. Awesome, Sean. Thank you. Stay on the line if you don't mind. I'm going to go ahead and close out the podcast, but I want you to stick around. I just want to talk to you just for a few more minutes if you don't mind. But with
Love it.
that, we'll close. Thank you all so much for listening. And that was another episode of the Inspire Sessions. Peace out.